Welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, where two friends come together to discuss all things hockey and where everyone's opinion is appreciated. Please welcome your hosts, Merrick Zemp and Collin Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 36. My name is Merrick Zemp, and with me, as always, my buddy Collin Simpson. How you doing tonight, Simps?
Doing good, man. Weekend's here and a little more hockey coming up.
It's true. It's been a busy week. We've got a couple games to recap. We'll just say, one good, one bad, one actually not even a whole one good. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So why don't we start off, Simps? We'll start off with Game 3. Obviously coming in off of Game 2, the double overtime winner for Brad Marchand. Now we're moving to Florida. What did you expect out of the Oilers, and what did you see?
Well, I did kind of expect to see Florida kind of come out strong. Obviously, I think most teams tend to when they get home. You get that extra momentum of the fans behind you. You get the sleep in your own bed. There's always a few extra little helpful things when you're at the home.
Perks,
rink.
your home arena, your home staff. Yeah, a little bit of everything. Yep.
I think it all adds up to giving you that first jump. And I think that's why you'll see most road teams when they come out is to just kind of weather the storm usually. Try to take that first 5-10 minutes and just kind of, make sure you don't get behind too far or, stay in it. You're not really, obviously you're always trying to take a lead where possible. By no means are you not, but it's more important to make sure you don't get behind too far.
And what do you think we saw? I mean, one thing that I definitely saw in Game 3 was the continued onslaught of penalties in the first period. A little bit by both teams, but a little bit heavy by Edmonton in this game.
Yeah, I think in the first period they were actually even 4-4. I remember it being talked about quite a bit after that in that game. It was, once again, we had talked about in the past, the first seems to be where the refs are setting the tone on what they're going to allow for the game, and not even just what they're going to allow, because it's not like it stays consistent throughout the game, but what it kind of does is say to them, listen, guys, like if you guys get out of control, we will call you. We're not going to let this just be a clutch fest, tackle, choppy. Little do they know they couldn't foreshadow the rest of this game. But yeah, that was the point of it, right, in the beginning. And both teams had their chances. And so, it starts to become a bit of a special teams game, which is not my favorite thing to watch sometimes. I don't care to watch two amazing teams, take turns staying in the zone on the one side. And and if you're Florida, I think it's a riskier game. I've said this millions of times. And despite the fact that statistics aren't backing me up on this, the fact that I think Oilers have a 10 times better power play. And I think even right now in this whole series, I think Florida's well ahead in the power play, like for percentage wise. But the fact is, when you watch their power plays, Edmonton, because of the Connor McDavid factor, on every single rush in gets full possession. There's never a time where I watch that team not come in and get a setup in the zone, at least for the first half a minute. Now, whether they score or not, maybe they're not scoring at the rate that they want to, but that's a big difference. So it's a type of game where if you're Florida, try not to get in those games, I would think, in the sense of penalties taken. I get you want to be into a more chippy game, but you don't want to get
definitely
into
their
back
style,
and forth, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you want to risk taking it over the edge. So after the first, it was pretty even at that point.
Well, and I think when you're saying like they typically, because of McDavid and that the plan, the way they do that. I mean, a lot of different teams are actually copying that style where they dump it back to a guy and do that, which seemed to be in Edmonton first. I don't remember anybody else doing that.
It was done before them.
I just lately, it seems like everybody does it now, but I didn't see that for before.
A while. I remember going back to Johnny doing it all the time in Calgary many years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been something that's been done for a while. It's the most prominent for them. There's no other player in the league. There's other teams that have good players that can do pretty good at getting in. But if you watch Florida, 80% of their ins are dump ins. And I get you have the extra player to retrieve, but once you dump it in, it's a 50-50 puck.
Well, I mean, I think in reality, though, at this point, and especially in Game 3, it wasn't 50-50. I think that was a big problem for the Oilers side, is that, I mean, they got 90% of the times they dumped the puck in. Correct. They dumped it in one side. They were on the other boards picking it up almost every time. It felt like just in watching it.
And this is a team that does that really well.
Yeah.
And like when I talk about it's 50-50, that's just the statistics of normal. When you give up possession of the puck, you no longer have possession, and it's anybody's game. Now, yeah, you might be better at it than most of the teams out there, and it does work for Florida better. Like we watched Vegas try to do it, and it was just an absolute pointless. There's a reason why they barely touched the puck in that series, because their play was to dump it in and never get to there first. Whereas Florida does that amazingly. And so, yes, it has worked for them, but it's still, I would rather every single day of the week
on your stick
to have Connor carry the puck in. He works his way in, he makes one pass, they all get set up. There's never such thing as, did we get to the puck first or did they chop it out?
Well, and one of the few times they were just completely misfiring was when Marchand scored in game 2, I think, to put him up 4-3. Was just, for whatever reason, it just was not working. They got stoned at the blue line a couple times, and then the second one, they kind of got caught at the blue line. He chipped it past him, and that's where Marchand was winning and scored. But they just rarely get beat that way. So obviously in this game, they went up a couple. I believe Perry, another power play, he scored, but then Florida ran away with it, and Edmonton just basically stopped trying to score. And it seemed like after that they were trying to settle a few things and go from there. What did you think of the revamped, rather than going for goals, just trying to attack everybody everywhere strategy of the Oilers for the third?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like I know most of the time I have a little bit of a bias against the Oilers. I have no choice, right? Growing up as a Flames fan, that's just the way it is. However, I do take stock in the fact that even with my own team, I can tear my team apart if they're playing bad. I've been pretty good in my life of being pretty partial about the sport more than anything, and I think that a lot of that comes from.
Well, you hate everything. You hate everything and everyone, so it's actually really easy for you to be partial, because even the things you like, you hate almost as much as you like them. So it's
But
it's
I think
easy
growing
for
up
you.
in sports and then at an early age doing refereeing in sports, I think it really helps you kind of separate. You're more or less watching the game as it is, and from whether it be penalty perspectives or fairness or different ways you can look at the game versus just, okay, this is my team I like. But I'll be honest, I don't know what point in the game and how it got that way. And I know Kane probably is part of, like, he's had a horrible finals overall, in my opinion. But it was probably one of the most embarrassing meltdowns I've seen in hockey history. And I've seen some bad ones where teams just lose their shit and you're just like, what is going on? The Oilers in that last part of the game, or the last period and a half, it was a circus. Like, I honestly, I've heard so many people complain about how, the Oilers got so many penalties against. I swear to God, it could have been 20, 22 penalties, 23 penalties. You could have been looking at suspensions. That one by Frederick, who punches Bennett in the back of the head. Like, I know Bennett's a pain in the ass, and he's probably done a ton of things throughout the game for sure. But he literally skates up to him, and he's not even looking at him, punches him in the back of the head, cross-checks him 3 times. The third time breaks his stick over him. Then when Bennett skates away going, I'm hurt, he punches him in the back of the head again. That to me is a suspendable offense. At what point do you just keep doing it I'm all good with everybody getting chippy and guys in each other's face and a couple of face washes and a couple of bump offs and some little mini things. There's such things as just being frustrated and losing your focus. And then there was that. Like, there was another play where, I don't remember who it was, one the Oilers had the Florida guy, he was dragging him to the back boards, completely has him, and then I think it was Kane just comes in and just punches him in the face when the guy's not even looking.
You are all over the map right now.
No, I'm
First
not.
off, Frederick and Bennett, fair enough. He got hit by him. He cross-checked him back, said, let's go. Did cross-check him and but he broke his stick. When you say he broke his stick over him, you're talking about he broke it over, like he hit him in the pants. Like he didn't hit him in the head or anything like that.
No.
And even after that,
I don't think it matters where it is. If you hit it 3 times so you break a stick over, it doesn't matter if it's a head.
I've seen that 3 times.
So if he breaks his arm,
3 times in this series.
Better?
I've seen it 3 times this series where a guy breaks a stick over a guy and doesn't even get a penalty.
Correct. And it's not 3 times in a row after punching him in the head. And that's my point. It's the accumulation of it. It's not like he just went up and gave him a shot and it broke. I'm not claiming that. I'm saying the accumulation where it was just over and over and over. And there's no way you could defend what your team did in that game. It was the biggest embarrassment I've seen. And it was ridiculous to see, because you're watching it from a Canadian perspective when everybody's supposed to be trying to watch this team. They can't wait for Canada's team to win it and blah, blah, blah. And that was the most embarrassing thing I've seen in many, many years. I've not seen anything like it, dude.
Oh,
That's
I've seen
not a
lots
word
like
of a
it. A
lie.
couple times I've had to watch Flames games, so I've seen all
Yeah,
kinds of
it's not even
embarrassing things.
close. No, there's been nothing like
But
it.
the other part of that is for all Bennett's, oh, I'm hurt, and then he got punched and whatever else. As soon as the ref tackled Frederick, there's Bennett on top punching him past the referee once Frederick's down. I mean, it goes both ways, that kind of stuff. And I don't defend the other one, and it wasn't Kane. It was actually Klingberg had Kachuk behind the net, and Wallman was punching him and stuff. And yeah, I wouldn't condone for that. I wouldn't suggest that that's the way to do it. And as somebody who has been the Florida Panthers player in that situation and being held by somebody and punched by somebody else personally, I'm definitely not a fan of that. And I've been there. It's, not a good feeling no matter what you're doing. But I will say that for all the talk and for everything else, when you look at a team, and I hate to bring them up because it always feels like putting salt into a wound for anybody listening, but when you look at a team like the Leafs, they get like absolutely pummeled in a game like this, and they just skate away and don't care. And they fold up and let's just run the clock down. The Leafs would be more than happy. The way they've played in the last whatever decade, right, or more, whatever, they'd be more than happy to just, dump the puck down, stay in their end, and just let the clock run down and skate off. And then when you see them after the game, yeah, it's tough. Well, we lost. We'll get them next time and whatever else. And we would be criticizing their lack of fight, their lack of pushback, their lack of anything. Was it done correctly? In a few instances, decidedly no. And when you talk about Kane, this is a guy, I'd have to look it up to see, but I bet you he's got 4, 5, 6, 8, I don't even know how many penalties in this. And many of them high sticking for no reason on a body check, another high sticking, the high sticking where he or
He's got like
unsportsmanlike,
3 or
whatever he
4 high
got him.
stickings, dude. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know what he's
like
doing.
just and like first period body checks, and you've got the momentum, you're doing all this, and you take a penalty, at the other end of the ice, and it's not your stick got caught between them. It's trying to finish a check improperly. It's just poor play. And I mean, those are the things that,
Yeah, it's
I don't know if he
execution.
has, I think he's got 1 point, maybe a goal or maybe a couple points, but like, yeah, he's got 6,
Yeah,
8 penalties.
He's
Like,
been a minus
it's been
factor in
brutal.
this. And I agree with you in the sense of I agree with your point on like the Leafs thing, and I agree with a team. I would never want my team to just die. But I'm gonna tell you one thing that when I was thinking about that as well during the game, and how I knew that the Oilers approached it wrong and did it wrong and were not doing it right of that concept. I've watched Connor McDavid in so many games when he's all riled up and he's right in the mix and he's talking and you watch the last period, he goes to the bench, he speaks to nobody. He takes no part twice on the ice when there was scrums going around. He just skated to the bench completely because you could see he was just as pissed at his team than he was the game. You know what I mean? Like, because
That's not the style. Yeah.
when he's used to seeing them fight back and do that, like, hey, we're not going to just go down without nothing. Connor gets fired up, and he was like a mouse. And that's when I knew that this was where you could look at where he was even embarrassed on what his team was doing. And he was like, yes, that's great to have a bit of bite back, but you're not doing it as in a bite back in the sense of, maybe just throwing some good clean hits. Maybe just, I don't care, chirp the guys, let them go. It's one game. We'll see you next game. Whatever. I'm not saying you just turn away and skate away, but it was just the only reason you were stepping on the ice was just for that. And even Connor looked at Knobloch when Knobloch put what's his name, Perry, I think it was, over at the last shift, and you could see Connor's going, I just want to go home. Like, what more do I have to? What message are you sending at this point? Why are you putting Corey Perry on the ice for the last 7 seconds? Like, you're not sending a message anymore, except for we just got smoked, and we're going to continue to rub it into our own self the rest of this game because we're not making anybody else feel bad here.
It's probably not a comeback option, but he is the second highest scorer on the team. So, I mean, it's not just Corey Perry being Corey Perry.
But my point is that's why he was put out there. And I don't think that was a good move by Knobloch. And again, we'll get past this game, obviously. The point was, it was only one game. I think they made the way they went out and the way they displayed themselves, it made it look like they had completely melted down and that was it for the series. But at the end of the day, I even was telling my wife, I'm like, the fact is it was one game. It felt like 5.
Oh, it felt like
it was
it was
brutal. You're only down one game. you get another game back and you're got home ice advantage again. So
Yeah. Well, and it was kind of just the way it happened. They're down a couple, they get one back, the momentum's swinging, and then they immediately gave it up. And this is a game where, to me, and I don't blame Skinner for the game. I don't necessarily blame him for all of it, but this is where I think the second goal was just a nice shot over his shoulder, but he could have it. The third goal, after they scored, it's 2-1. They've got momentum. They're coming back in the second. A bad play behind the net. They cough it up. A goal just over his shoulder. Again, you could have that. You could have that goal. You could save that goal. And then a breakaway by Bennett. Fair enough. It's 4-1. They're not playing well enough to be able to come back from that at this point. Like you said, at that point, either your captain, your leaders on the team get fired up and say, it's time to start playing this game. Let's go. Or, as they did, they folded up, got a bunch more penalties, and just kind of waited for the clock to run out.
I think that's where, when I talk about Connor feeling that way, there is a point where, as a superstar like him, he's got to feel like if I'm within 3 goals, we could still tie this. Right? In his mind.
They do.
If I'm not,
yeah, they talk about it. They talk about having that kind of mentality.
But then you guys are going and just doing dumb stuff, and he can't get on the ice. He's like, I can't get on the ice for more than 5 seconds because we're in the box. Stop. Please, just stop. Give me a chance to do what we do best. And you're not doing that for me. And you're actually hurting me and this team. And, and again, I agree. Skinner I don't think he had a horrible game, but I still come back to the fact of, can you win a hockey game at 783? Can you win? Whether it's right, whether you had to make a save, doesn't even matter at that point, because I'm not saying that's just on you. I'm just saying, as a goalie, I'm saying as a team, if your goalie is 783, whether it's his fault or the defense's fault or the forward's fault or whoever's fault it is, right? 783 won't win you a hockey game. And
you have to play exceptionally.
Now here's the silver lining to that game, right? For me, the silver lining is they pulled Stuart Skinner out and put in Pickard, who then got some ice time in the Stanley Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of got to get that maybe a bit of nerves out because there's no nerves to be involved. You're not coming back.
Yeah.
Right? You just get to go in, get that time, and then, a little bit of foreshadowing. Obviously, I think that helped play into their advantage later on in the next game.
Well, okay, so let's continue on with that. Like I said, the only way you win with a 783 save percentage is if you give up 2 goals on 10 shots. If you hold them to 10 shots, you play well defensively and something like that happens. I mean, obviously the math isn't exactly 783, but an 800, whatever, right? If you hold them to that kind of, they just manage to convert when they need to, and you win 4-3, well, then fair enough. You can make that happen. But yeah, it was one of those ones where that third goal, when they had some momentum and he couldn't make that save, it changed the power. They already slowed down a bit, then Bennett scored and it went out the window. So obviously the Oilers, you classify it as embarrassing. I say not exactly perfect, but it was a pushback. It was a fight. We're still in this. Obviously that translated to game 4. The Oilers, with that momentum from all the physicality they were bringing in the end of that game, obviously they came out like gangbusters. How did game 4 go? Give me a start.
Yeah, I think the emotional roller coaster that they went on didn't play out as maybe they were thinking it would, where they would, feel hard done by and fight back, and they were going to bring it all, and it was just all Florida first period, where there was times I don't even know if Edmonton ever touched the puck. It was one of the most dominating periods I've seen from any team against any team throughout this playoffs. I couldn't believe how flat they came out. Like, obviously we've seen it before sometimes from them. Some first periods they do come out a bit flat.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one where, could have been 7, 8.
The stats in between the first and the second period were so dominant. The slot shots were 12-1. The high scoring chances were 8-1. Like the ozone time was unbelievable, and obviously the score was 3-0. A couple more power play goals. I think another Kane penalty, maybe a couple. I'd have to look. But just, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely got one early.
Again, a couple, I think it was 2 more power play goals. Just a rough go, a bad start. But I'll take this part because it's much more exciting and a lot better. Their second period, if you're saying you've never seen a more dominant period than the first one by the Panthers, I would say if not rival that, if not eclipsed it, was the Oilers in the second period. Um, Absolutely, they got a couple penalties or a couple power plays. Sorry, not penalties. Got a couple power plays, um, and just dominated the game in that second period. Turn the shots totals around, turn all of the metrics to their favor. They were now by the end of the second period, it's a tie game, and they're leading. They're leading in every statistical category in a good way. Um, Absolutely dominant period, and it was one where they got one on the power play that was standard bouncing around. McDavid, Draisaitl involved, and then they got one from Nurse. Neither of them anywhere to be found. They got another one from Podkolzin, just in front, working them and pushing hard to get it. Really good depth stuff and really good overall period.
Yeah, they definitely came out flying. One of the biggest stats I saw that was a real flip was the offensive time, which meant for me, because you look at it, you could look at a power play goal and you'd be like, "Oh, did you really get it in there?" But were you really leading? Just because you got 3 goals doesn't always mean you're dominating. And then Podolskin was kind of just a broken play that came out and he batted it in, but it meant it showed how much their cycle game was actually happening as well. They weren't just coming down the ice and getting the shot and going the other way, and maybe because that can sometimes happen if you get 17 to 10 shots. It could have just been skating down wrist shot, wrist shot, wrist shot. It wasn't that at all because the time in the offensive zone was almost doubled. So it did show how much they were dominating this period. That looked more like the Oilers of the Vegas series and the end of the Star series. Not
Yeah.
really. I'm still not sold on most of the LA series. Obviously, they got better and better as they're going, but I felt like they really showed their true domination in those other 2 series.
It
And
was
this looked
well,
like the
yeah.
team that played in those 2 series than it has so far in the finals, because so far in the finals, they've not impressed me at all. They've looked more like, the LA series, which has been
Well, and
good, but
I
not
think they were
great.
playing. Yeah, I think they were playing at a 80% rate, which was really good, or really competitive with LA. Like I think LA was kind of also playing at that same level, so that's why that was so close and so everything. And then they kind of just kept getting better through that series. So then they were playing at like a 95% level against Vegas, and Vegas just couldn't match it, stuff like that. So yeah, no, I would agree with that. It
And
was really good.
And one of the things I did notice, and I pointed it out right away when I was watching the game, was where I think Florida went so wrong, especially in that second period, and even continuing to the third, in my opinion. They went away from the Florida that we know that even when they're down, or sorry, not when they're down, when they're up, they continue to attack. They chipped out more pucks than I've seen them do. And I'm not saying chip in and chase like they love to do.
No,
I'm
chip to
saying chip
center.
out of their own zone, flip up highs. There was times where there was no one near the guy. Like, I mean, he had
Yep,
5-10 seconds and he still just chopped off the boards, gave the puck back to the other team, and allowed the Oilers, who were now picking up confidence, to just keep coming and keep
yep.
coming. And I think if you've learned anything from those other series in which Edmonton dominated, it was the minute teams decided to do that, thinking that they would just, hold a lead, the more chances that this is a team that does so well when their confidence is high. And all you're doing is putting the stars on that other team in situations in which they're going through that neutral zone, which I've talked about 1,000 times. There's no team better coming through that neutral zone, just allowing them to keep coming back through it. You're not even forcing them to just dump into the corner and chase and play some down low game, which I don't think they're as good as Florida at that.
No.
You're not making them do that because you're just chipping it out, making a line change, allowing the defense to make one quick pass into a guy in the neutral zone, picking up speed, and they're backing on you again and backing on you again. And it's hard to break that momentum. And then, even if you get back into it and tie it, your entire last 27 minutes of your game and style you've created is just a chip out. So where do you build offense from there?
Well, and that's the thing when you look at that game. Well, I guess, and just to note that, right? Obviously, at the end of the first, Skinner was pulled, and they did put Pickard in to go from there and whatever. But they rallied, and yeah, I noticed it as soon as I see the other team starting to do that little flip play, like my heart just soars. It's so exciting because I know that at that point they're starting to back up. They're starting to go on their heels. It means there's less opportunity unless somebody's going to skate it out of their end. So now you've got to worry about maybe Reinhardt or Barkov or a few of those guys. But Gadjevich, he's not skating it out of the zone and going all the way to the other end. At most, he's going to get to center, dump it in so he can go change. And that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of his play. Like, so being able to get those flips, get them to kind of push them out and do that means that you've already not won, obviously. I mean, you could be losing the game, you could be down by 3 still, like whatever, but it means that you've shifted that momentum. You've shifted it over to their end where you're now going to start getting more opportunities, getting more chances, like you said. And yeah, it's a huge thing. It's like totally it totally changes the game as soon as that kind of mindset flips for a defenseman, whether they're worried about getting hit, whether they're worried about giving up the next chance, whatever it is, that makes a huge difference. One thing I did notice in that game too, it did go to overtime, so it was a little bit longer game, but not too crazy. I think it was 10 minutes maybe for overtime, but the hits were down. We talked about the first game or two were like 50 plus hits each kind of thing.
Yeah.
34-25 are the stats I had for hits.
Yeah.
So like a pretty significant reduction in hits. So whether that's because they got the early lead, so Florida wasn't chipping in and hitting defensemen as much, whether it was, a whole period of Edmonton really not doing anything of any use. So that brought their totals down. It's hard to say exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, I think partially too. You're just worried on what the refs are going to call to make sure it doesn't turn into last game, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to over aggressive and start getting pulled out, and especially at that point when quickly back to a close game at that point. Obviously, in the beginning, it could have ran out of hand. Obviously, yeah, as you mentioned, the Pickard thing. Like if the Oilers win the cup, they could thank him because he's having the greatest backup playoff performance of ever. There's no way you're going to find another backup. Like you'll find the odd time where a backup will come in and take over the starting role and run, but never has it been a guy who's been asked to come in and out this many times. Every single time he's come in, performed amazingly. Right? And we're not talking just, most times you ask for a backup to just not suck. Right? He's come in and been a superstar. If they kept Skinner in, there's no way this is 3-1 series. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind.
And I think I was listening to a couple other podcasts as well, and they were talking about how even in that game, he was maybe a little excited, right? Maybe a little over anxious, especially as he started coming back. He was a little over aggressive at different times. There was a play, I think it went over to Kachuk, where the guy had come down and they made a pass east-west to the one side. So he, dove out kind of to make a big play on it. And they went all the way back across to the other side again. And it was like you couldn't see him in front of the net at all. He was so far gone to the other side. And I think it was Ekholm got his knee in front of it.
Yeah, there was honestly 4 or 5 like that. I forget who it was earlier in the game too. It could have been long done. There was some chances where they were tap-ins that the Edmonton Oilers sticks. A couple of guys, I think actually Jeff Skinner as well was on another one on a back check. Like they're goals. They're guaranteed goals. They weren't like, oh, it would have been a good chance. It was exactly that. It was the goalie had pushed really hard, and the east to west pass is really, and they know that even when they're playing against Skinner, that's one of the things they're trying to do. They know Skinner can get caught on those east to west.
Well, he's overly aggressive, yeah. So if he does push out on the one,
and to be honest, that is kind of what happens on the tying goal. If we're to talk about, Reinhardt's goal in the end. Now, I don't blame him because it bounced off of 4 different things as a goaltender.
Well, yeah, he dove out.
What are you
and there's 15 seconds left.
Correct. You're just getting your body in front of anything. But it was an aggression. If he does stay back deeper and not so aggressive, that probably doesn't go in.
Reinhardt doesn't go in. Yeah. Well, and even when we talk about that, when we talk about defense and whatever else, right? There's the one that Frederick had in front that he hit. It went off of him. It was behind Bobrovsky, went off of Frederick, off the post, right back out. Then he hit it, and the defenseman slid in and it hit his foot and went out. Oh yeah,
that was crazy. I don't know how they didn't go in the net.
How it was impossible. I can't remember if that was end of the game or if that was overtime.
No, I think it was in the end of the game. I don't think it was during the game.
I
feel
figured,
like
yeah. And then what was the other one?
I don't feel
Oh,
like it
there
was
was
overdone.
Reinhardt with the breakaway. Oh, and then Bennett's.
So that
Bennett's
one in
that
overtime.
Pickard. Yeah,
In
that was
overtime,
in
that should
overtime.
have been a goal. Like that was
I mean, he got a piece
what
of
a
it, and then
save.
it hit the post.
What a save.
Like
And
just
again,
enough.
I always say that's when I sit there and look at games and go, I could tell you who's going to win this. It's just and this is not a knock on the Oilers. They've had an amazing run, but they have had some of the most opportune things go their way at the right times. Not like it's like all the time. I'm just saying, and I mean at the right time is in the sense of like, okay, go back to the first series. If Quentin Byfield knows how to move a puck out off of boards half an inch past that guy, knocking it down, that's 3-0 in the series. That was it. That was 3-0. The odds of them being in this playoffs at that point, gone. You know, that one there, big save, but just enough of it. Oh, just hit the crossbar. And then down to the final goal where Leon just one-hands a nothing pass in front, hits a skate, goes in the net.
I haven't seen a good view yet. I really want to know. Do you remember 2002 where I think Lemieux? No, it was Ginla stepped over it to get to Lemieux.
2002?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about now.
for Olympics.
Yeah.
And he stepped over it to let it go to the next guy. I feel like Perry did that to let it go to Draisaitl at the blue line, but I can't confirm it.
Oh, I
Like
don't know. I don't
it
remember
kind of
that
went
part.
right through him or right past him,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure if he left it for him or if it just hopped over his stick and happened to go to Draisaitl and then whatever. And then Perry doing Perry things, right? Going to the net hard. So Bobrovsky sees him coming in hard. He knows, as soon as
He has
that
to
puck
slide,
starts to move, he has to move to get over there
Yeah.
and then his defenseman hits it and in it goes. So
But I even like Dry though after I appreciate that guy sometimes is like when he's asked about the goal, he just like laughs. He's like, yeah, what are you going to do? It's just pure luck.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, but some guys would be like, well, that's just how hockey
I
is.
practiced
You work
that.
hard.
Yeah.
You work hard. No, you just admit what it was. You walk out of there going, you know what? We got lucky. We had a great second period. I don't think we played amazing in the third. We got hammered on the first, and we got a goal that could have went the other way. And then that's the series. Like, I think for myself, I believe 2-2 is probably pretty fair for the series.
Mhm.
I do believe if you were to say, could I pick one that deserves more to be 3-1? I definitely think it's Florida through the 4 games. No, but by such a small margin. I'm not saying that's why I'm saying it's actually probably fair at 2-2. But if you were to say lean one way or the other way, right now I think Florida's been better. I think statistically it shows it. I think right now, if the block shots, if you were to just take away, like, look at the last game, 28-13 block shots in a 1-goal game. Every game so far, Edmonton's had to block way more shots, but they've given away the puck more. The last game, they didn't even have a takeaway in an entire hockey game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so it's like overall the play, I feel like Florida's been better. Now, obviously, there's spurts in which Edmonton just dominates them. But if you just say, like, from start to finish, who's had 4 better games, you're looking at probably like a 52 to 48%, though, when we're talking about that, right? I'm not talking about like a major thing, but 2-2 is all we can ask for.
But I mean, if you chase it, I mean, just about everybody picked this to go 6 or 7. I mean, that was kind of the thinking, is that this is what's gonna happen. And yeah, I think there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of everything. I think if you went through it, I would kind of lean the same way you are. That if you said, okay, I mean, obviously there's been a few overtimes as well now, but we'll say there's been 4 games, so there's 12 periods. Add 4 more in for overtime. You're probably 9 or 10 periods that Florida's winning.
Yep.
Right? So you're, 9-7, 10-6 maybe, like that's how it's been. I mean, they won, I think, realistically, they won all 3 periods in game 3. Other than that, I'd say there's a lot of 1-1 or 2-1s, each other game. So you're kind of, you've got them ahead, right? But it is, how much have you done with it? Even this game, right? Game 4, they won the first, lost the second, flip a coin on the third. I think the Edmonton Oilers probably won the third. Obviously, they came back and tied it, but I would say they still won the third. But overtime was, well, even the very first overtime, chances both ways. Like Edmonton has kind of turned games on and done well, but they still are giving up chances. And I think really the big difference, you mentioned it before, and I think everybody always talked about the power play and whatever else and what they've got, but I think it's the penalty kill that they keep bringing it up on the broadcast and stuff as well. They gave up 4 power play goals last year in the whole stretch.
Mhm.
They've given up, I don't know, 20, something like that this year. That's a big difference, and it's considering they only lost 4 games to get to the final. That's pretty crazy stat, really, when you think about how
Like,
many they're giving up that many goals and they're not even losing.
yeah, and their power play hasn't been great either.
Yeah,
So like I personally am surprised Florida's in the position they're in. I think they should be, and they in their own minds have to say to themselves honestly, like we should be up 3-1 when we're out power playing the Edmonton Oilers.
yeah,
You know what I mean? If I'm looking at it from a perspective going like, hey, if Edmonton's hammering with that lineup they could put out compared to what we put out, if I feel like if we were getting more power play goals than them, I would have to assume I'm up in this series.
yeah,
And
crushing
and
it,
and you're
killing
not.
it.
And you're not. And it's
Well, and
2-2 and
especially when you factor in the number of power plays. Like if it's a low power play series and you're doing better than them, but you're only getting 1 or 2 a game. You know, in 4 games, you're whatever 3 for 8 and they're 2 for 6. Like, yeah, no big deal, whatever,
yeah.
right? But yeah, when you look at it this way and go, there's been dozens of power plays.
Oh yeah,
Like,
like even in that one blowout game, it's like, okay, so Florida's 3 for 11, and then he's talking about that, and I go, yeah, but the Oilers were 1 for 6. It's not like you weren't given opportunities. You got the best power play in the world, and you were given 6 chances to score, and you didn't put any in. Like it's just unlike them
yeah,
for me in this scenario, and whether that's good on the other teams or just not clicking for the Oilers because they're getting chances on every power play. They have the puck in the zone almost the whole time. McDavid and them play 1.5 minute shifts. They barely go off the ice in the whole power play.
yeah.
They're just not getting that last one to go in, right? But it is 2-2. I still hold true to my Oilers in 6. I feel like they're going to win tonight at home ice, and then I think they're going to go into Florida and be like maybe a hard game, but it'll be a win down there just like this last one. I think it'll be a back and forth, and I think they'll close it out in 6 in Florida.
I sure hope you're right, and I agree. I definitely think it's one tonight. I think Florida may put up too much of a fight in Game 6 and then come back for 7, but I still see the Oilers winning this series. But I definitely like it when you're right, even though it happens so infrequently. So yeah, it's going to be a good game tonight. I can't wait to watch it, and I know that you're loving it, and I know you're getting closer every step of the way. You're going to cheer for them. You're going to be happy for them. And you're gonna love it when it's gonna happen, Sims.
You did hear my embarrassment talk earlier, right? Did you just completely miss that?
That's what happens. You don't get embarrassed when you don't love it. You don't even care, right? When the Leafs lost, you didn't care. You weren't embarrassed the Leafs lost. You just didn't care.
I will
But
never
the
care if the Leafs lose.
The Oilers, you were embarrassed because you're feeling it. You're feeling it now. I get it. So even though Simpson won't admit it, we all know he's starting to feel it. So, and I'm sure you guys are out there feeling it too. So I want to thank all you guys for listening. Don't forget you can find us at sportsbuds.com. That's www.sportsbudz.com, or Z for you guys in the States. We're on all your favorite podcast sources: Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, TuneIn. We're also on YouTube. So don't forget to click the subscribe button, get those numbers up for us. We can see where you're out there and make sure we can contact you guys when we get new content. And make sure you follow and subscribe all of our social media as well. Instagram, our Facebook groups, all of that. We're trying to do better there too. And make sure we keep you guys up to date. Plus, we're trying to add a few more things, and maybe you'll even see some swag one of these days. So we'll keep you guys informed of that. Sibs, thank you very much for a great talk, and I hope you enjoy the game tonight. I got to spend a little time with my boy tonight. It's his 19th birthday, so hopefully he's doing all the right things and making smart decisions. But we'll see what happens with that.
For sure. Happy birthday, Colton. Happy 19th. Looking forward to tonight's game. Everyone take care.
Thank you very much. Talk to you guys soon.